Hey Planet Sewers, it's Mathletee here. I have a video here of the San Diego Zoo entrance. For some reason I ended up with a lot of vendors from deleting different shops and putting them down, so my intro has me getting them unstuck. Anyway, I have a speed build for you today, so let's get to it. And here we are starting it off. I used Google Earth, which I've mentioned in many videos, to get a look for the feel of the building, its layout from above, and then using the walk around tool as much as I could. There are some areas that they didn't go into, which is a typical occurrence. I highly doubt that they thought people would be replicating different things in video games and rely on their walkthrough to see certain parts of landmarks and zoos and different buildings. Anyway, I am building the ticket counters, so I decided to go with a vendor inside. Some of them have information booths, some have drink, food, souvenir, and on each side of these they do have a ticket counter. So on the side that doesn't have the vendor, I set it up to look like it might if you were buying tickets with brochures and a computer and a speaker. When I was setting the speaker up, I didn't have any power yet. I had deleted the original entrance. When I went to set the color for this, it wouldn't change, apparently because there was no power. Interesting. I learned something new. So I set up one side so that I would be able to replicate it. Today, Ruby is already in bed. However, the dogs have decided to take her place. So if you hear tags in the background, I'm sorry. I have been trying to cut them out, but I may miss some. Anyway, so moving those windows around to cover up a little set on each side and getting those in place. I just separated those from the building so it would make it easier getting that better aligned there. Adding some doors. So I'm making one template and then I'm going to duplicate this over. And in the original entrance of the zoo, I should say the actual entrance of the zoo, they have two sets, and then off to the left they have two sets, then off to the right one, but I couldn't get any further in a view of what was going on over there. And what I'm using here for the ticket window came from my Houston Zoo entrance, so that is available on the workshop along with just the ticket building. So I grabbed that out of there and used it here. But anyway, what I was saying about the entrance here, off to the right, I couldn't get to see what was over in the right corner, so I ended up just keeping it kind of symmetrical and doing two in the center, two on the left, and two on the right. And so I used this information from the San Diego Zoo website and just created those in Canva and put the little color coding on top. I really don't know what they say in real life, but I decided to set them up that way so it looks like you have that information there, and it is accurate to how much it cost when I filmed this yesterday. And adding my roof to my little template building here, and because I had offset it with just 2 meters to the right, left, and the back, but not to the front, my building is not perfectly square, so I had to get creative with finishing off that roof and scooting things around. Get some floor in here, so I have a little bit of a template as well outside to line things up when I get ready to duplicate this. And there we go. I did end up just making a little blueprint of it. It wouldn't let me copy it, and I accidentally added that extra information booth. So before I add the other booths, I'm going to create the support for the wooden beams that run over these buildings. This was a challenging build. I was super excited when I started. I knew it was going to be a little bit of a challenge. Finding the right pieces to get the correct materials and look that they have in their entrance was a challenge. I had to create these instead of using in-game pieces. They all seemed a little bit too small, and of course none of them were shiny silver, although I don't think the entrance is quite that shiny. But they did have metal supports for the wood beams that run over this. And note to self, I should have done the blueprint for those 2 information booths down there before building this roof cover, or sunshade I guess it is. Right now I have my husky Kai and my corgi Klaus that are tussling around in the background. My husband goes to work at 1 a.m. 2 to 3 times a week, so he's already in bed, and they are just having a good old time in the living room, which is why Ruby isn't out, because when he goes to bed, Ruby goes to bed. And I was like, yay, I can record in peace. Unfortunately, the dogs have other plans for me. Maybe the teenager will make an appearance and add to my voiceover woes. So moving those around, getting that angle just right. I did notice it looks like it has a little bit of a lean, but I liked it, so I just left it that way. Moving all that over, mass duplicating, and then I'm going to get rid of one more so I can space it out a little better. I did try to edit out as many of the awkward camera angles that I could, because I noticed as I was editing there were a few times just watching it on my end I was like, whoa, that hurts to watch. So the way these buildings are set up, it has some tight angles, and I needed to have some awkward views here and there, so I did take those out as much as possible. So I do apologize if there are still a few camera moments that make you kind of go, oh, and it could just be the transition too. I, for some reason, had a struggle getting those into those little buildings that I created once I blueprinted and put them in by themselves, because I didn't want all information booths up at the front. The 2 in the center are information booths. The one on the right, I believe, is a food vendor, and then there's a drink and a souvenir vendor on the left. And I needed to move that main building back some. So adding in some paths, I will connect the concrete here a little bit later. I left some of it just kind of however you would like to cover it. If you want to put it all the way out, if you download this. So I didn't fully complete some areas. I just wanted the main entrance for y'all, and then you can add it, add on to it however you like. Getting this angle over here so I can angle that out, because both of those seem to have about a 15-degree angle towards the front from the center there. So a lot of just copy paste and moving around, making sure that we don't have any pieces fighting each other. If I missed some, I'm sorry. I did try to catch them. I did have to move some things around as I was checking things, because I could tell certain things were fighting each other, but I did edit a lot of that out too. So getting all that woodwork. And on the left and the right, they didn't have the dramatic up kick like they did in the middle, so I just used the flat ones. The piece they had, it looked more like it was a more narrow piece, but I couldn't find something to work the way I liked, so I went with the thicker one. And then getting these little sections in the back, and it was a little bit too long because I didn't exactly copy this right side. As you can see, I don't have the fourth one in yet, and here it goes, because I couldn't get a view for what's actually to the right. It goes kind of off to the building over there, that I'm getting ready to build, and it looks like there's some kind of entrance over there, but I have no idea what it is, so I just omitted it and went with my own thing and decided to just add one more right there because I like symmetry. It makes me happy. And in the real zoo, it doesn't quite cut right there. It is more square, but I didn't notice that I had made that error till the very end, so I decided to leave my little creative oops, trying to find a good spot for my power source so that guests will not complain as soon as they walk in the zoo, even though it is very well hidden. Adding in the ticket entry. It seems most zoos, I mean, it makes sense. You know, they have the ticket counters out front and then their ticket entries a little further in. With Planet Zoo, since there's not an actual ticket booth, they just spawn and walk through right there. If you don't have a lot in the zoo, your guests might walk past everything right there and then go through the ticket counter, turn around and go right back, because that's where most of the food and vending is out front. Adding in doors and grabbing another piece that I'm borrowing from my Houston Zoo project. That was the big planter in the middle. I took out a lot of the bushes and left the stuff on the outside and added palm trees. The planter that they had in the Google Earth right there had a lot of palm trees in it and some flowers. So setting up, getting things nice and messy but pretty, and then I'm going to add some flowers in a moment. And I really wanted those to be blue, but unfortunately that flower is not recolorable. So skipped a little bit. I actually just forgot to keep recording after I went to look at Google Earth for a second. So all you missed was just putting down all the staff facilities, checking that heat map here, trying to find that perfect spot again, and scooting this over. On the left side, I don't know what's in there. I think it is a restaurant. I decided in the end not to fill it out because I already have a lot of food and drink vendors up here at the entrance, but you could probably make a seating area in there, or I could update it later. Let me know if you want me to put a seating area for guests to eat in that little building. I can always update the blueprint. Deleting pass and going with the grid to get over here. This section will be the gift shop. Once I get all the zoo support facilities in, I'm trying to decide where to put my guest spawners and ready for some roofs. I often forget to change the colors until I get a couple of roof pieces in. Luckily I remembered with only 4 instead of a whole bunch of them. I like to go around with one piece as often as possible instead of switching them out. And I was trying different ideas over on that little odd area. None of them struck me, so I just kept going. I decided I would figure that out a little bit later. I already knew what I wanted to do on this part. I was testing out a little bit of different ideas there, as right here they do have a sunroof going on over the walkway as guests walk into the zoo. So I left that part to do once I get done with the main roof here and do some detailing, add in the little wood piece on top. There were a couple of areas with that wood piece I really would have liked to put that. However, it is a grid piece, so I can't just put it wherever I like. I have to stay on the grid with it. And that piece won't rotate to go down slopes. It just stays level. And adding some roof eaves around. Looking at that spot, said I'll figure that out later. I already know how I want to do this, so I'm going to go with the easier part of the build. Add in the glass, turn it green to match, adding in little support windows there. And I'm still waiting on that part of the roof. I decided we're gonna make the sign for the San Diego Zoo. So thank you to Pausley and Miss P. I had asked in their unicorn community. I remember seeing a tutorial he did on this, and it was super short about different ways to use billboards, but I couldn't remember which one it was. I just remember when I watched the video, I had, oh, that's cool, that's a really good idea, but I couldn't remember exactly what he had done when I saw this San Diego font, and I really wanted to replicate the way this looked and all the images that I found. Some of the images have a different font. I'm not sure which one is current or up to date inside Google Earth, and most of the images that I could find on Google had this font, so I went with that. There was one that had the 100 years of the San Diego Zoo. I really liked that font and celebration. However, it looked like they only had it there that 1 year. So I went ahead and chose the font that I saw the most in all my resource images. So I am using the smallest I could find in the art shapes of the oval and using that for the font and filling it in. As you could see earlier when I started on the S, I did try a couple other shapes and a lot of them were just too large. So I am using the largest billboard that they have available in the game, and I had cropped this using Canva online and then loaded it into the game, put it on the billboard, put the billboard on the ground, and using the billboard as my flat surface. So I'm using a lot of the advanced move so that I can keep the same level, and hopefully there aren't too many pieces that got off level. I think in the lion part there are a few. I tried to correct as many of them as I could find, but occasionally they did get a little bit off level from each other. Anyway, I had gotten tired of filling in, so I did go and just create some outlines and then went back. It's a very tedious process, but ultimately I was super happy with how the sign turned out. Zoomed in, it does look a little blobby. My G, I had to lift it up at one point. I was like, is that really how that G is? But it is. I'm super zoomed in, so hopefully the camera movements aren't too drastic. I did turn here and there to make sure I was in the right spots and go in the right direction when I couldn't quite see, or my arrow, I couldn't grab the right one. I do struggle a lot of times with accidentally grabbing the green one, and I'll have to release it and start again. I got lucky on that big awkward O. It did have some room for a bigger shape in there, and I was trying to get that in there to a nice smooth connection, and then on that O I was able to use the bigger one. And there's my original. I had started making it and was eyeballing it, and I remembered I had seen that video I mentioned earlier about branding and how to make your own branding and using the billboards, but I couldn't locate it. So I was super happy that they were able to remember out of all the videos they have which one it might be in. So I was stealing pieces off of my original go, which I don't think I did too bad for eyeballing. I think this guy turns out amazing though, so I'm super happy to add this to my toolbox of building techniques for creating custom things inside the zoo. I was zooming out to get a look at his eye, make sure that it looks okay. Like I said, I'm so zoomed in, I could see all the little nooks where this gutter piece that I'm using didn't quite line up. So I was seeing how it looked from afar, considering it's going up on top of a roof, and I was hoping that piece right there would work, but it didn't. So I ended up using a parentheses. The letters are one of my favorite things to use in creating some of these custom signs. If you watch the Macaw Cafe, that one I did do just by looking at a picture, but it was a little more simple, I think, in its nature than this guy. And then if you've seen the Memphis Zoo, those I did just by eyeballing, although I wonder if I could get some more detail going if I had had this technique when I originally made that entrance. But I think that one came out good. It has a nice essence of what that zoo represents when you walk up with all the Egyptian theme. Anyway, getting this side of the lion finished off, and about halfway through with getting the lion pieces on there. His eyebrows, I was struggling. I had to do that a couple of times. I was trying to get the right little angle going for his eyebrows. I was so happy when I got done and I had this up on the zoo, and I took a screenshot and I shared it, only to realize I had forgotten his nose. I had to go back and add my lion's nose, but I thought he looked pretty good without the nose because I didn't notice. I almost left the nose completely out because I did like him without the nose, and I decided to go ahead and correct it, put the nose in. He has a nose in this picture, so I wanted to stay true to how the lion looks up there. There are a couple of other images of the entrances for San Diego Zoo. I don't know if they have multiple entrances, but I did see some where they have different animals up there, or like I said, it might be a different entrance and they have a different animal at different entrances. This part of the lion went a little faster. I could use bigger pieces to fill in, so less tiny detail work to get that in there. I also was so happy to be done working on the lion. It is such a zoomed in view. I have the footage obviously very sped up. It's a lot of small movements and going back and forth with different pieces. It was nice to be back out of a super microscope view of something and get to deal with bigger pieces on a normal scale. Using this method, I feel like I got a really good scale for the lion. He's not too big, he's not too small. That was something I noticed when I was trying to eyeball replicate different things, especially with the Memphis Zoo entrance, is a lot of the things came out very large compared to how they actually were or needed to be, or I wanted them to be. And a lot of that led to the decision to stray from trying to get precise to being just getting a feel and highlighting the main architecture and artwork and filling it in with what the game had. Whereas with this one, I was able to use this method to be pretty spot on with how it looks from afar and really getting that essence of the lion. So I moved the lion and the San Diego Zoo letters up into the sky so that I could fill in this white behind him. So I'm just going for that outer edge, trying to duplicate the white around the lion's mane out there, because the rest of the white will just peek through once I bring everything else back down. So using the biggest pieces I could and then filling in those little small gaps towards the end, trying to make sure we didn't have any spots where something peeked through, that the white would be there. And then when I brought it back down and took the billboard away, I did have to come in and push some things out. It didn't quite have the white border as far out as I wanted. It was a little hard to judge that since he was in the sky. So now I've got him, and we're gonna put him up there. And there's that screenshot I took. And then later I noticed I forgot his nose, but his nose is there. I just didn't add that little section of putting the nose on. Now I'm dealing with that one little roof area, trying to figure out how I'd like to cover it. And I tried a couple of different ways, as you can see, and ultimately I just ended up using those little dormer covers and then separating a piece of the roof out and then adding on some eaves. I was trying different things to get this to connect. I did not want to build a custom roof here. I wanted to use the in-game roof, so I was trying to make that look as seamless as I could. And again, I was trying to get that piece to fit some places and remembered, oh, it's a grid piece. Also trying to decide if I wanted it there or not. And I'm borrowing a lot of things from different builds I've done. So this doorway is in the Memphis Zoo entrance, so I grabbed that. It is also on the workshop as a part of a wall. So there's a Indian brick wall attached to it. I just removed everything around it except the little gray brick pieces and kept those on the outside. So I decided I really like the glass part. I like to be able to see in. I wish the game did have some glass doors pre-made, but this will do. And changing all the colors to fit my theme. And I missed a few when I duplicate over. I just cut that out because I had to get so close to grab it. I did roof this, however, I'm going to stop there because I kept bouncing out onto the roof, so nobody wants to see that. I should have done that before putting in the roof. Adding in the floor, and right here I'm glad I picked the one I picked, as I would have had to do something different or change it. Not all floor pieces have these matching smaller pieces. I could have used the big square one, but I wanted to use the little one. Adding in some doors so that we can provide access for our staff to get to all those facilities that are back there. Adding in a door over here, and then these last two doors I'm going to delete some of the stuff in the middle so that it's just a window and not a door. Moving a couple things around. I think in the final setup of this gift shop I moved the walls one more time. Again, I was trying to avoid some of those staff facilities from creating complaints. I had marked it at one point. You might see it. I used a glass piece from the classical set to just set on the floor to know where that radius was. Ultimately, I decided to just move the wall out one more section and not have to worry about it. It also gave me some room to do something else right there that I thought looked really cute. Finishing off the inside, getting all those plaster pieces to line up so that there's not any holes and hopefully not too many differences in their level from each other. There's one right there, but I didn't worry about that one. Adding in some roof beams here, I was able to find a couple of images of what it looked like inside. So I decided I would put the roof beams in and give it the feel of what the zoo actually has. And then I like things to be evenly spaced, so I decided to just plop down a wall so that I could measure and have those beams be equally spaced from each other. Working in here is a little awkward, and sometimes the angles look different from different perspectives, and sometimes the eyeball method, it just isn't quite right when you look from a different way. Here I was trying to find a different awning to use. I used this in my Houston Zoo build with the same method. I borrowed this, I forget the name of it, but I will put the link to the workshop gift shop that it came from in the description of this workshop build when I post it. So if you want to use it or get that for your zoo, you can get it from that creator. I just love those coolers, and I enjoy hiding the vendor shops so that it looks like guests are interacting with things and actually purchasing things. Sometimes though, they do kind of glitch in, or phase in is really the word I was looking for, and it's a little goofy if you happen to catch it, which I did on camera during the walkthrough, where they kind of disappear a little bit. But I still enjoy that look of them picking stuff out and then they walk away with something. It's entertaining to me. But there are two shops, one's behind the t-shirt and one's behind the coolers. So I put I think I put a water vendor behind the coolers, and I put in a souvenir vendor behind the shirts. And all of these decorations also are not my builds. They came from the Steam workshop. I just cut out moving outside to grab them. It was a little bit crazy of in and out of the building. So I will also provide the links. These came from 2 different packs. It's the same pack that the little brochure section came from that I used in the ticket booths. So ultimately, I believe I borrowed 4 different things. The computers, which are in the ticket booths as well, and I'm going to use that same computer here. I got that from the workshop, and you can see the gift stuff off to the right there. I haven't deleted yet. Those 2 gift sets, and the cooler comes out of an actual gift shop, a full gift shop. And right here they have camera, den, and strollers. So it looked like from my little walkthrough with Google that they have an opportunity for you to buy pictures of, I think they have a safari ride or a safari thing going on where you can ride in a tram through some of the habitats. And I believe this is where you would buy your pictures from the photographers throughout the zoo. And then they also have their strollers right here. And so that would make the 5th thing that I borrowed from the workshop when I put the strollers in. So I will make sure those links are in the description of the workshop item if you want to use those in your zoos, and give those creators some thumbs up. Those are some wonderful builds. I think I've got the strollers in my Houston Zoo too. And there they are. I just love how they use the giraffes. So it's so creative. Sometimes I see stuff people think of to build different items, and I'm just amazed. And I decided to add a little bit of wall to kind of hide away the rest of those strollers, so it didn't just look like a big empty space. And as you walk through this part of the zoo, when I did, at least on Google Earth, they had some little green carts. I couldn't get these to be green, but close enough. And they have some umbrellas, and it looks like they just have some impulse items of gifts and things. I decided to put fruit on this one and some knickknacks on the other so that they were represented in the walk. Adding my floor into that little section. And then the colors are different right there. Actually, this side the walls are like an ugly shingle wall, but we don't have that in the game, so I went ahead and just kept the green plaster color so that the building had a consistent theme going. If they ever add the shingles, I'll be happy. It seems a lot of zoos, when I go to recreate, this is the 4th time I've wished I had that ugly architecture of shingle walls. And I used the wrong screen here, so getting that fixed. And I went and found some pictures off of Google that came up when I searched for the San Diego Safari. And then I added the San Diego Zoo logo to all the computer screens in different areas of the zoo. And the last final touch going in is some palm trees in the front of the building, so to speak, but behind all the ticket booths, covering up that window little area a little bit. And I think this is the last thing that is the speed build, and they have these little zoo store signs. On one image it actually said Zootopia, but I couldn't get a real good image of it. But in some of the other images, both entrances said Zoo Store, which I plopped it up there really quick to get the color of the letters there, because I thought about using the same method, but it was such a tiny little sign I wasn't able to. So here we are, just a little flyover. Ignore that big yellow thing back there. It's not in the San Diego Zoo. I just used that to attract guests and put some exhibits in there. So looking at our zoo from the front, we got the big lion sign, our people milling around, going by the ticket booths. So they come up, and on the front side is where the vendor is, but when you walk around you can see all the different windows they have to purchase their tickets. And when you get right here, there's the different passes that are available and how much they are, what you would get for those passes. And I got lucky, there's some guests right there, and that is a souvenir shop. I think it's just a memento, so they didn't walk away with anything. They must have adopted an animal. And then through here I added some conservation boards so guests get some education as they walk into the zoo. And right here we have our first little market area with a camera den so they can get pictures of their safari ride or rent a stroller as they go through their zoo journey. Apparently the guests really like those pictures. It's the second time I've caught guests clapping and all excited about images on a screen. And skip by that exhibit house. That is in my workshop too, if you need one. And here we are in the gift shop. I did put in 2 picnic tables so they would have a place to sit. I didn't think of the idea until I started the voiceover of putting seating on the other side. And those bottles actually are lights. I think it's funny because they light up at night. And there goes some guests right there getting drinks out of the cooler, actually buying water from the water vendor. So let's go check out the staff area. If you go in here, there's the workshop and research center, and there's a wall that I need to fix. I didn't see that. And all the other facilities except for the trade center, it's in the other building, but you do have an exit right there. They also have an exit over here by the strollers, and the trade center is in this building, so you can go out that door too and have access to the front of the zoo. We have our power supply, and I got a little lost when I was in here and walked out the wrong area, but there's the empty space. So this would be a great place to put in just some dining. I'm not sure what it is. Google Earth didn't go over there at all, really. And we're going to run around this side, and there's the zoo store, and this is actually the exit path. If you were in the real zoo, there's a building on the right, and you squeeze between them and come out here to this planter. and it directs you which way to go to get out of the zoo. And thank you so much for watching my video of the San Diego Zoo entrance. If you like my content, please subscribe, and I hope you have a wonderful day. May the RNG odds be ever in your favor.